cannoli, an Italian favorite pastry consisting of a crisp wafer-like shell made of a somewhat pasta dough which has been fried and filled with a creamy sweet ricotta filling. Now, where did the cannoli originate from? Well, it comes from the Mediterranean island of Sicily in a town called Palermo. It's believed that the Sicilian cannoli originated during the Arabic domination. There is also some stories that it is believed that the Arabs brought this particular recipe with them and then taught the nuns in the churches how to make this delicious treat. Also known as by its ancient name Capelli di Turchi, meaning in Italian Turkish hats, is a very popular pastry that is served during festival time or carnival. This is a period just before the Lent time, and this particular dessert is also known for its symbolism of fertility. So we are going to start off with making our cannoli dough, and as mentioned, it's somewhat of a pasta-like dough, but of course we won't be using eggs in this recipe today. We are using some of the very typical ingredients that you would find in a cannoli dough, but without the eggs. So to start off with, I have some cake flour, so that's just a low protein flour, and to that we're going to be adding some sugar. And in addition to that, we also have some cocoa powder, a little bit of cinnamon, salt, and we're going to give that a good whisk. Now our next step is we're going to be adding our fat. Now I'm using a firm margarine today. However, you can also use a vegetable shortening. And of course, this is replacing butter or animal shortening. And now we're just going to rub that fat between our fingers into that dry mixture until we get kind of like a breadcrumb-like consistency. To start adding our liquid component, and that being our vinegar or white wine vinegar. And what the white wine vinegar is going to do is give us those beautiful air bubbles into our pastry that gives it the signature look of the cannoli dough. And in addition to that, we're using some masala wine. So this is a very particular sweet wine that you'll find in a lot of Italian sweet recipes. So if you can get your hands on it, it is very important. And now we're just going to start mixing everything together. Now this is going to be quite a dry dough, but if you are finding it is still a bit too dry, we're going to just sprinkle in a little bit of water as needed. Now once everything starts to come together, we're going to knead it for about 5 minutes. We're going to cover this and put it into the fridge for about 1 hour. Now it's time to make our ricotta filling for our cannolis. So I have my prepared almond ricotta cheese here, and we're going to transfer this into a bowl. And it looks amazing. I'm just going to cut through it so you can kind of see. It is quite a dry cheese, so I'm just going to cut it open. Sometimes when you buy traditional ricotta cheese in the supermarkets, it can be a little bit wet, but it is important when we are making the cannolis that we dry out our ricotta cheese. And it's super smooth, so I'm going to transfer this into a bowl here, all of it. Here, now we're going to be adding our vanilla. So you can use some vanilla bean paste, but I am using some vanilla pods today just to be a little bit extra. So we just want to slice down the center and then take out all of that beautiful caviar on the inside. Now don't throw away these empty pods. You can put them in a glass jar and fill it with a neutral kind of alcohol like a white rum or vodka, and then leave that for a few months, and then you'll have beautiful vanilla essence. We also have some orange zest. And then we have our confectioner's sugar here. Now I have weighed out the full measurement for the recipe, but you don't need to add all of it. I'm going to probably add most of it and then just kind of check for the sweetness level. Now I want to divide my mixture into two. We're going to be doing two flavors today. Let's work on our pistachio flavor, and I've just pulled out this comfy orange from the refrigerator, and I'm going to chop a little bit of this up, and I'm just going to dice that up really nice and small, along with some pistachio. So now you can use pistachio paste, or you can just grind up some pistachios into like a fine powder, whichever you prefer. And all of this is to taste. So I've just put in like about a tablespoon, and we're gonna mix all of this up and just check the flavor. Perfect. Okay, so now the other flavor is, we're just doing a chocolate chip. So I like to add like a handful or so of the mini chocolate chips. Now, yeah, that's plenty. I don't want to put too many because we are going to be using them as a garnish as well. Transfer these into the refrigerator for all of those flavors to really meld together. So our cannoli dough has been resting in the fridge, so we're going to get that out now and start rolling it. I am going to be using a pasta machine today. You can do this by hand, but it is quite tricky doing it by hand. You've got to use a lot of elbow grease. I'm just going to cut this dough into two. Roll out this dough fairly thin. We want to get it through the largest notch on our pasta machine, and this being one on my machine, and just add a little bit of flour to the machine just so it doesn't stick. Now at this stage we're going to fold our dough over. So what we're starting to do now is laminating the dough. So we're getting lots of layers. So when we fry it, we're going to get lots of little bubbles into our dough. So your dough is going to start becoming a lot smoother. We're going to fold our dough in half again. So we want to do this a few times, maybe 3, 4, 5 times. So our dough is looking a lot smoother now, and now we're going to start putting the notches down, so decreasing the width of the dough. So I'm going to go into the next one, so number 2. And for each time that we go thinner, we want to run it through the machine twice. So now we're going to start cutting out our cannolis. Now I always like to use a set of these cutters, and I have the largest size within the set, and you can check the sizing in your recipe. And we're going to start cutting out. So I'm just putting a little bit of flour around there so they don't stick. And we're going to start cutting out our circles. Okay, don't throw away the scraps, we can re-roll this later. So now that we have some of our pasta already rolled out, our pastry, we're going to start preparing them on our cannoli rolls. So these tubes you can buy online, and they're metal. Sometimes in Sicily they actually use bamboo. so which is quite interesting. But we're going to be using these commercial ones today. Now, one of the most important things to do is to ensure that they are greased well, so you can put a little bit of spray, or I've just got in my bowl here a little bit of vegetable oil. And I'm just going to ensure that all of them have the oil on the outside. So I'm just rubbing that all the way around. Okay, so now we're going to start rolling out our cannoli shells. So in front of me here, I've just got a little bowl of water and a pastry brush. And we're going to take one of our tubes. Now, what's important is I like to just pop a little bit of flour on your hands just so they are nice and dry. And we're going to take the center and sort of just like stretch it out a little bit, so we almost get like a football or an oval shape. And we want it like almost the length of our cannoli roll. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is take a little bit of our water and we're going to brush it on one edge, and that's going to help it adhere. And we're going to roll that around and just ensure that it's stuck down well. So you want to give like a nice press and sort of roll it back and forth to ensure that it's stuck. And then what I like to do is just gently with my fingers just sort of flare out the edge of our pastry on either side. Beautiful. All right, and then we just want to stand that up and we want to allow it to dry for at least 15 minutes. If you can wait a little bit longer, even better. And that's going to allow that water and the pastry to stick together really well. If you want to make these Easter pastries, you can just cut out some rectangular pieces. And I just made this from the scraps. And then I've just cut a small hole in the center and just push that edge through so it twists like this. And we can fry these as well. Now our cannoli shells have had some time to dry, so we can start frying these now. Now I am using a commercial fryer, however you can just do this on your stove top. I do find using like a cast iron pan works really well, and just check the temperature that you have the correct temperature for that. So I'm gonna pop these in now and just do like a few at a time. So as you can see, we lost one, that's okay, we've still got a few to go. So that one probably just needed to rest a little bit longer, which is why it fell off. You can still fry that off though, they're very nice, just fried with a little bit of icing sugar. These are done and they're looking nice and golden. So all my cannoli shells have been fried and they've cooled down. So you can fill them now and eat them right away. They will stay crisp for about an hour or two. However, if you do want them to last all day, say you want to serve these in a display case, in a cafe or bakery, you can grab yourself some cocoa butter and vegan white chocolate. So I've just done 1 part of each, so equal quantities. And we are going to brush a little bit of this inside our cannoli shells, and this is going to keep it really nice and crisp. So our cocoa butter and white chocolate have crystallized inside, so our cannoli shells are now ready to fill. So I'm going to start off with my chocolate chip. You just want to cut the end. So now that we have all of our chocolate ones filled, we can dip them into our chocolate chips. Now for our pistachio. Now for our pistachios, we want to just dip those into our pistachio pieces. And then we have some orange, comfy orange that you can put a little bit on either side. Like so.